Hello, welcome to Winter Rosa Apiaries.
Is that what you're talking about there and, multiplying and all that, is that basically what happens in your two bottom boxes, the peak boxes?
Yes. Yes.
Do they move up into the upper ones, and if they do, does it affect your
They could if we don't put that queen excluder on. This queen excluder keeps that queen out of there from laying eggs. We don't want them to lay eggs in our honey. Okay. Not that it would be, if they did get up there, we would just wait to, we find a queen, make sure to get her back down here, wait for those to develop, and then you can fill those cells with honey. But, not get too complicated, but if you had brood in honey frames, it's more susceptible to beetle infestation because the beetles like the protein, they like pollen, they're going after that, and so we would have more problems with pests, keeping pests away while producing honey and everything if we allow brood laying up in our hive. It makes it worse too when saving the frames, storing frames with wax moths. Wax moths like the protein. So when we're storing, we have to store these somewhere during the winter, and we don't want wax moths ruining our frames. And so that's another issue. But so the queen stays between these two boxes. There's plenty of room. The queen does lay about approximately 1,500 eggs a day. She has to lay that many because during the summer, the worker bee only lives approximately 6 weeks. They actually work themselves to death.
So you'll just work us to death?
We'll sure try.
Their wings start to deteriorate. If you see an old bee, you'll start to see that if you look at it, you're like, I don't want to be that close to a bee. If you see a dead bee and you investigate it, you'll see that you'll see tears in the wings and things of that nature. Because at the end of their life, they're out flying miles and miles and miles. Okay, a bee on average can fly 2.5 miles just to find nectar. Okay, so they do a lot of flying in their last 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks, they're in the colony working, cleaning, storing, fanning, guarding, all those kind of things. Okay, there's a lot of jobs, activities within the hive. The first thing, as soon as they hatch out of their cell, they are cleaning. They clean their own cell that they just came out of. That cell has to be waxed and cleaned before the queen will lay another egg into it. Okay, so that's to be totally clean from waste. So they clean, and then after cleaning, they become a nurse bee where they're feeding the young. And then after that, then they they do wax. We talked about wax as a byproduct. How do they make wax? Here's the back of a bee, the back abdomen, and there are 6 glands, the back of the bee, that secrete this wax product. They consume honey, and then they will hang in chains. This right here, they will hang. It's really neat to watch. And they hang from hook themselves from leg to leg, and it's like a construction site. And they can actually, with this, they can measure how long they need, what they're doing, the comb and everything. And after hanging in these chains for 24 hours, they start to produce these wax under their wax glands. And then they will take their hind legs, scrape those wax glands, those wax flakes, bring it to their mouth, and then they will chew it and build it into the comb shape that they need. So that's very tedious. You think these little tiny little flakes, and they got to build, all this. Okay, it's a lot of work. So that's how beeswax is produced. And fresh wax is almost white, to a little bit yellow. But it as they walk over it thousands of times, they're bringing in pollen on their legs, they stain the wax, and it starts to turn yellow. And then frames down, the brood frames, the one I showed you, the deep, that's the back of the box. They will start to get dark. They will start to get darker too from pupa developing in there, because actually every time a bee is born, the cocoon, some of that cocoon actually becomes a part of the cell. Yes. So when actually and then periodically for cleanliness purposes and because of pesticides used today and things of that nature, we go through a cycle and we start to, maybe after 5 years, start to take out frames and get rid of them, melt the wax down, and give them new, okay? Because eventually they will become really dark, the cells will start to become a little smaller, and there might be pesticides that have built up in that wax. Any questions? Yes.
How long does the queen live? And then when she dies, do you have to put in another one? And then how do the other bees react to the new queen?
Okay, that's a good question. The queen can live 3 to 4 years.
Really?
Okay. But that doesn't mean that on the 4th year she is as productive as in the 1st year. Okay. The queen lives 3 to 4 years, while the workers only live 6 weeks, unless it's during the fall. They actually will live through the winter time, okay, because they're not flying as much as the ones during the summer, all right. And the drones, they only live during the spring and summer, fall. The bees actually, the bee will kick the drones out before winter because they are of no use, okay. Their own drones, their only use is to mate with a queen, a new queen. So queens are not being produced during the winter time. They would only be being produced during summer and spring. So they actually kick them out, and more drones are developed in the springtime. Okay. So the queen, when she dies, the bees know that she's failing. Okay, and they will take one of the eggs that she has laid, and they will develop a new queen out of it. Okay. It's the same. So then they will build it out. That cell, she's bigger, so they build that cell out bigger, and it's like a peanut. Okay, that's a queen cell there, and she will develop there. And sometimes, a lot of times, they will make a couple queens just be on the safe side, and then whoever hatches first comes out, and then will actually go around and sting the other cells, kill the other. But she will go around and kill the others because they only allow one queen per hive. Now, if they hatch all at the same time, then they have to duel it out. Okay, where there's only one queen per hive. And the only other thing that happens with a queen is if we talked about swarming before, we didn't get into detail, but if they swarm where there's too many, so they decide, okay, part of us are going to leave. What happens is the old queen will leave, okay, but before they leave, they will make new queens, and right before they swarm, or right at the same time, the new queens will hatch in here, but the old queen leaves with half the colony, and then this one will have a new one. Okay. So I appreciate your time. Appreciate you sitting, listening, and How long? Well, I mean, it's a matter of you can either, buy,
Already got a box.
buy a package.
Already got a box.
Okay, you got a box. You can buy bees in the spring like this. They mail them. They put them in a box like this, a couple pounds of bees, and they'll put a queen. And she gets a special cage. They'll put her in a special cage. It goes in here. The reason why they do that is because when they put this together, these are not. The queens are made separate, so these bees don't know this queen initially. So they have to get used to her smell, her pheromone. So we put them in this cage, otherwise they will kill her if they don't know her yet. So we give them time to get to know each other first before we directly release her into these bees. But you can put that into a colony and start it. If you start that way, you'll want to start in the springtime, summer. It's really too late to start this way in the year. If you were to start this time of the year, you would want either a full box or you could start with what they would call a nuke. A nuke which has 5 frames from the beekeeper, and let it grow. You might have to feed them this time of year, and do that. But I'm going to take a break, and I appreciate everybody coming